Hello all and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm working on the 416, on the Rover 416. On the last MOT there was an advisory for the near side drive shaft boot split basically. So I've got a new drive shaft boot and I'm going to crack on and get that replaced, because what I don't want to do is, just because I'm driving this at the moment every day, I don't want any water or mud and grit to get into that and then ruin the joint. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing, hit the like button, comment. The channel's doing really well at the moment, so I'm really hopeful for things to pick up in the future, and who knows where this will go. So let's get on with the video. So what I'm going to undo is I'm going to undo these two bolts, this bolt and this bolt. Now it's easier undoing those two, that one and that one, with a gun rather than trying to undo that one, breaking the ball joint. So it seems like too many bolts to undo, just take it away, but I find it's easier. Get a long extension bar and a wobbly down on those two. I can get a gun on that one, and I can get a gun on that one, and that will allow me for this to pull away. Okay, there's a bolt up in there, that's interesting. These are 15s. This one here is a 13, and this one here is a 13, but there's a bolt the other side. Obviously the captive nut is gone, and someone put a bolt in there, so I need to find out what size that is. That's that bolt out. I think that is actually the original captive. It's obviously just where it's been welded on, it's just sheared off. Okay, so that allows that arm to move now, like so. So that's out of the way now. So now I can get this sorted. I have got a new CV boot. CV boot, 2 clips, some grease. I'm gonna cut the boot off, and then I'm gonna hit, hopefully, well not hopefully, pretty sure you can just whack these with a hammer and these will just pop off, and then obviously slide the boot on. Right, so that's the zip ties, just plastic zip ties on there, which are not the ideal thing to use, but the big thick ones are better than the thin ones, so I've just cut those off with the snips, and then just got a blade and literally just cut the boot open, so we're just left with just the CV joint here. So I'm going to grab a hammer and give it a few whacks, and hopefully it will just pop off. Okay, yep, so basically I just grabbed hold of the shaft with one arm and then just hit on there with the other, and there's just a little circlip on the end. This is just a stop, this doesn't do anything. And then this just locates inside there, so just give it a couple of taps with the hammer and it pops off. So I'm going to give this a clean, and I'm going to squirt some grease, new grease down in there, clean all this up, slip the new boot over, and then yeah, put grease inside that and then just tap it back on. Well, that was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I did think when I opened it up that this hole in here was tiny, and I've had to take the clip off of the end, and I've literally had to force that on there with all my strength, and it turned the boot inside out, so that was a bit of a nightmare. But unfortunately all these second-hand parts now for all these cars, they're just not the same, are they, as OEM parts. Even though the company I bought this off, I sent them my registration number and they guaranteed me it was the correct part. I mean, I know these Hondas generally they have a thinner, unless the single cams have smaller drive shafts. I don't know, but that hole was way too small. But anyway, it's gone on. It doesn't really matter. It's on now. So I'll carry on. So that's all cleaned up. Grease is inside. So obviously when this goes in, and it you know, that grease will work its way around all the balls and stuff. It wasn't drying there anyway. I'm going to grease this up with a bit of copper grease before I put it in, and just knock that back on there. Basically, so just got to get it past the split pin or the circlip. Okay, so these are the clips that come with it, and I'd always recommend you use these types of clips, not zip ties or Jubilee clips or any other kinds of clips. And all you need is this spanner here. You can buy this off of Amazon. Next day they're about 15 quid. So you get them basically on as tight as you can manually, and then this, it goes over that little clip, and what you do is you get the pliers. You see how it works there? It crimps it, and as it crimps it, this middle section here and this middle section here, it stops it from deforming the clip. So that's on there like that. I couldn't do that, I needed 2 hands, and that's what you end up with. So that's a factory kind of clip you'd see on there, and then I'm going to do the same with the back one, even though I've just realised that I can't because this clip is too small. So obviously this is the wrong boot, so this, once you've clamped this up, it won't. So I'm going to get a thick zip tie. I know I've just said it, but I ain't got a lot of choice. I'm going to get a thick, this one's fine, that's on there solid. I don't even need a clip on there, but I'm going to put it on there anyway. I'm going to get a thick zip tie and I'm going to put it on there because I can't use this, it's too small. That's just not big enough to go around. So yeah, so it must be a slight difference on the shaft. So anyway, zip tie on there, it'll be fine. So there you go, that's all done. As I say, don't do what I do. I didn't have a lot of choice, but this is the one that has all the articulation. So if it's going to pop off, it's this one that's going to pop off, not this one. So, and obviously it's going around the corners and stuff. So okay, so what I did is I started these bolts off by hand before I put the lower arm in. So I got those started off, got them threaded up a few times. I then got the lower arm in and pushed the bolt in. I haven't got the nut on the other side yet. And then this side, to get the anti-roll bar down, specifically probably because the other side is still on the ground, is you need to push this anti-roll bar down so it lines up with that, and then get some, and then it will line up and it will go in. So that's it. So I just need to put all the bolts back in, tighten them all up, torque that up, stake it because it wasn't staked, and then that's it, job done. Everything is tightened up, that bolt's tightened up. I've checked everything by hand. These two bolts are tightened up down here, that's tightened up. This is torqued up, tightened up, staked it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this face a bit of a clean with a wire brush, a wire drill attachment, and the back side of the wheel as well. And I also need to just grease up these as well, just a tiny bit of grease on them because they were stuck in there. So that's it, I'm going to do that and put the wheel on. Right, so that's it, all back together on the ground as always. 120 newton meters. I've also greased up all the outsides because these are really tight fit in the wheel and they're starting to corrode in between the nut and the wheel. So I put copper grease all around and also here as well. So I'll give obviously that a clean up. I'll give this a wipe over so it's not obvious like that. It'll just help protect it in the future if anyone's ever got to get this wheel off, because they were tight. I couldn't undo those with the gun. So that's it. I've just got to clean up my mesh. There's always hundreds of tools you always don't think you're gonna need, and then you do. So that's it. It's all back together. I'll take it for a quick test drive just to make sure everything's okay, and then yeah. So that's it. I've just taken it out for a test drive. Everything's fine, as I expected it would be. So I've got a few little things I need to do on this car. I need to sort out the idle. It still idles too high. When you disconnect the battery, the ECU can forget where the idle is. So there's a relearn procedure. Is apparently you turn ignition on, you start the engine, and you hold it at 3,000 RPM for 5 minutes or something, I've read. So I've got to do that because the idle is too high, and the door, the driver's door window doesn't go up or down. So I don't know what's happened there, so I need to have a look inside there. So that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you got this far, and I hope you've learned something from what I've done, and I shall see you again in the next video. See you later.